Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm back with a brand new video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the WWE Legends Series 13 Hurricane action figure. The Hurricane is one of the more interesting wrestlers. When you think back to the Ruthless Aggression era of WWE, when you think back to the Invasion era shortly after the demise of WCW. The Hurricane, real name Shane Helms, is also a fellow North Carolinian hailing from Smithfield, North Carolina. So that already makes him great in my book. Shane Helms got his start wrestling in the early 90s. He actually competed in the Omega independent promotion, which is an independent promotion that was started by the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy. So Matt, Jeff Hardy, Shane Helms, as well as Shannon Moore, who you'll remember from WCW and WWE fame. All four of them have been friends forever, so they literally have all grown up in the wrestling business together. Shane Helms got his first national notoriety in World Championship Wrestling. He started in WCW, I want to say 1999, and he was in the tag team 3 Count, if you remember. They were kind of like a boy band ripoff group, since boy bands were pretty popular at that time in the late 90s, early 2000s. And by the end of WCW, he was a single star in the cruiserweight division. I believe he actually he was the last cruiserweight champion in WCW and won the belt on the final episode of Nitro in March of 2001. And Hurricane is very unique because, with the exception of Booker T, he is by far the most successful WCW alumni who came to WWE immediately after the company went out of business and in the invasion angle. So if you remember, going back to 2001, WCW went out of business in March. Then you had a couple of months where things were pretty quiet. And then around the early summer of 2001, I want to say the King of the Ring, Booker T, debuted. And there were other, maybe timeline may not be the correct, but in any case, you started seeing the trickling of WCW stars in the WWE, and then of course that kicked off the invasion angle, which pretty much was from the summer through fall of 2001. And just when you look at a lot of the names from WCW who debuted at that time, shortly after Lance Storm, Hugh Morris, Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo, Mark Jindrak, Diamond Dallas Page, the Tag Team Chronic, Billy Kidman, Chris Kanyon, Mike Awesome, Mark, and there were some others, but of all those WCW alumni, none encountered the success in WWE as the Hurricane and Booker T did. Of course, Booker T gone on to become multiple-time world WWE champion. Well, not really multiple-time, but pretty big star in WWE. And then Hurricane had a very respectable career. In fact, I was doing some research on Wikipedia. In WWE, Hurricane was a 2-time cruiserweight champion, a 1-time European champion, 1-time hardcore champion, and 2-time tag team champion. And he actually had won Best Gimmick in the 2001 Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards, which was pretty interesting to find that out. And he had one of the more memorable gimmicks of that era. It was a superhero gimmick, and it was a gimmick, if it was in the hands of a lesser performer, it really could have went nowhere, but he had such great comedic timing, and he would do that, what's up with that, that was kind of his catchphrase, and he was kind of like, the mild-mannered, reporter, and then he would morph into the Hurricane, and it was a really fun gimmick for the time, and he definitely made it work, because he did that gimmick for quite a few years. Now, by the end of his WWE tenure, he reverted back to just the original Shane Helms gimmick. He started going by his real name, and also, according to Wikipedia, it said that he was the longest reigning cruiserweight champion and longest reigning champion of any kind in SmackDown history. So that was pretty interesting to find out. I'm not sure about the SmackDown history part, but it could be I don't know about that, but I guess at the time. But in any case, he was definitely longest reigning cruiserweight champion in WWE history. And for a guy who came from WCW, who came from the enemy territory, a guy who one is a cruiserweight wrestler, and back at that time, cruiserweights in the 2000s were certainly not, really high on the pecking order in WWE in terms of priority. And he had pretty great longevity, and he was actually released from WWE in 2010. And since then, he has come back and appeared in some Royal Rumbles. He was actually a producer at one point. Do not think he still is. I'm not positive, but he was a producer for a little while. So apparently, they valued his input. And Hurricane, he is very active still on the Indies. I remember seeing him on a couple of the I would go to the Fan Fest shows back in Charlotte for a few years, and he was competing on those shows, and he may still compete on some indies in the North Carolina area. But just a real cool guy. I do not hear any negative stories about him. He is just seems like he's just a really down to earth, really just humble guy who loves the wrestling business. And for him, when you just look at the fate of all those guys, because the list I was reading of guys who came, straight from WCW after the buyout, and these were not what I would say. These were not, with the exception of Booker T, these were not the major stars of WCW that came in the aftermath of WCW being sold. These were mostly your mid card guys, as I said, your Hugh Storms. Lance Storm, Hugh Morris, Billy Kidman, Chronic, and with the exception of Diamond Dallas Page, he was a major star too, no doubt in WCW. But all these guys really had not memorable WWE runs in that period, and they were released shortly after. Whereas Hurricane really stayed on for quite a few years and developed into quite a big name for himself. So more power to the guy. So of course we're going to as you can see, the box, Legends box. I love the Legends box. And of course, if you don't notice, I have my green shirt on. Of course, I had to put the green on for the Hurricane. And actually, one thing I was learning about Hurricane too when I was doing some research is that he's a fan of the Green Lantern, Green Arrow comics. So makes sense. And it makes sense he's a comic book fan, period, because for him to have really brought this gimmick to life and been so good at it, I think a lot of it mirrored real life. So again, you have the lovely Legends box. I just cannot get enough of the Legends series. Especially that, the side of it. The elegant brown and the tan carding and stuff. Back of it, you see description of Hurricane, and you see the other wrestlers in this series: Triple H, Cowboy Bob Orton, as well as Jake the Snake Roberts. And we're now going to get into the inside of this figure next. All right, so we have opened the figure, and my goodness, I had a hard time opening this. I can't recall the last time I had such difficulty opening a WWE action figure, but they really are their best to make sure no one took that from the store. Stole it from the store. Very choice of terms, but in any case, this is the best Hurricane figure that I've seen. There was another Hurricane Elite that came out in the regular series. I want to say I think sometime in maybe late 2020, early 21, and it was it had his WWE's the style of his WWE run. He had a short hair. It was mostly the black and green outfit, mostly black outfit. This outfit is what I believe he wore in either the 2018 or 19 Royal Rumble. This is more his style. Presently, or at least as of a couple of years ago, and I love the longer hair and the mostly green attire. That lime green just really pops. You see the Hurricane symbol on the chest, and also I had to stand this on the put this on the stand. For some reason, this figure had a hard time standing, so I tried to get the joints right in the knees and legs, and to no avail. So I really like just that kind of little, gloss on the cape. And then if you lift up the cape, you see the Hurricane logo on the torso, and mostly green as well. So just really like that lime, green and black scheme. That's a really, really nice scheme. I like it. Then on the side, if I can lift up the cape too much without the figure falling, but you see the Hurricane logo on the legs. I like the the boots with the kick style coverings on them. I guess that's what you call them. And then the cape is really cool. I like the cape. And even that back kind of a little kind of flame like design. So I mean, this figure fits in with any superhero figure in my collection. I have a couple of DC multiverse figures, so this goes right in line with them, and just a really solid figure. Comes with interchangeable arms, which is standard. That was the only accessory that came with it. And just again, like the long hair, I really, and as you can see, you have the max going through, and I really just like that. I love this long hair version better than the other version. I did not get the other version. I saw that and it really did not strike my attention. But when I saw this one, it just kind of caught me. And also helped that it was on clearance. It was heavily reduced, so that made an even easier decision. And you see the kind of white and black, not white and black, just to kind of almost kind of remind you of flames or shark's teeth. The outlining of the I guess that's the face paint, or no, that's the max. He always wore a max. So yeah, so really nice and really menacing eyes too. And Hurricane is a very light-hearted, easygoing guy, and he actually looks like a killer in this. So I think this is pretty cool figure. But again, like I said, pretty nice. Very good figure. I got it for a good deal on clearance from Target. So again, hope you've enjoyed this video, and hope you've enjoyed the information I told you. Just kind of learning a little, background more about Hurricane. And thank you everyone for just checking out my videos. A lot of you showed love for my gosh, what was the last video I did? The comparison video about the video about which WWE figures are right for you. I think that was a title or something similar. It's amazing you do these things and you can't even remember what the titles are a week later. But thank you for everyone for checking that out, checking out my other videos. I definitely appreciate the love. I definitely try to respond to every comment. So just thank you for the support. Continue checking out my channel. Check me out on Instagram at JD Collectible as well for even more, peeks into my collection. And just, thank you guys for support. I love doing this. I love collecting figures. I love just, finding out the history behind these wrestlers and things. So again, just thank you for watching, and I will see you again after a while.